Hey guys, welcome. So let's wait a couple more minutes till more people join us. In the meantime, you guys can write where you're joining from. Okay, I guess we're a little shy. Whoa. So after we have 2 minutes to start, let's wait 2 more minutes. There might be some latecomers, so we don't want them to miss the introduction. Okay, so what is the expectation of you guys from the webinar today? Cool. All right, so we'll begin with, some general introduction. What is Apple Search Ads, how to do it, how to get started with it. And then the second part, we'll talk about some advanced, search ads practices that make your life easier. And then we'll have a short time for for a Q&A. So if you have any questions during the webinar, just feel free to write your questions. At the end, I'll try to answer as much as I can. Okay, so Margot wants to know the best way to scale campaigns. Okay, I hope this webinar will be useful to you guys. I'll do my best to explain everything. Okay, so let's just wait 2 more minutes before we get started. People in the States might be just waking up, so. Okay, just one last minute and then we can get started. Okay, so in the meantime, let me just introduce you guys to what we will do in the webinar today. So I'm planning the presentation to take around 30-40 minutes, and then we can have a question and answer section for 20. The main idea is we're going to have a look at how to start your search ads campaigns. What are the important points you should consider when looking at Apple Search Ads? And then we have around 3 advanced practices. So by advanced, I mean it's something more than just getting started that will help you, scale the campaigns. So yeah, just don't forget to take notes, and I hope this will be helpful to everyone. So today, I'm joining from Mobile Action, and then we have this search ads platform, searchads.com, that we recently relaunched. So the main idea is to have a platform where you can manage, scale your Apple search ads, and then you can also get some competitor insights. But the main idea today is to see how we can improve our Apple search ads campaigns. All right, so I think we're ready to go. So let's just get started. Okay, so the main, this is like our starting. So first, we start with, I know most of you know already what Apple Search Ads is. Just let me provide a quick introduction. So Apple Search Ads is an easy way to advertise directly inside the Apple App Store. So the idea is that you bid on certain keywords, and provided that you win the second prize auction, so this is a different type of auction, provided that you win this auction, and also if you're related to these keywords, you'll appear at the top of the search results, like just here with a small indication that this is an ad. So the good part is you just pay per tap. This is for Apple Search Ads Advanced. So I'll talk about the differences between basic and advanced in a while. But the idea is you only pay for these ads when someone taps on your ad. So you don't pay for the impressions, but the main goal is to bring a lot of organic downloads. So recently, Apple Search Ads has become much more popular, and these are data from Apple. And the main reasons are, first of all, everyone knows pretty much now that around 60, 65, depending on your niche, apps get most of their downloads directly from the App Store. So Apple Search Ads targets directly the App Store. So you're much more likely to generate more traffic via this channel. And then these users are going to be organic users. So you're going to get more high quality users who are much more likely to retain for longer periods of time and spend a bit more money on your app. The second point is that Apple claims that average conversion rate of Apple Search Ads is 50%, but this is slowly declining because people have started to realize that the first result they see is an ad. And people are usually biased against ads, but still this is a very high number. So it's pretty much higher than other ad platforms. And then the third point is it's cheaper. This depends on your category, because in some categories it's really expensive, but overall, it's much cheaper than different ad platforms. But this gap is declining rapidly, especially in the United States, because every day more and more publishers are starting to run search ads. So you don't want to fall behind. You probably want to get started as soon as possible. And then again, tying to the first point, these users usually behave like organic users because they found you through a relevant keyword. So they're much more probable to spend more money on your app. And then, so when running campaigns, at the first, it can be kind of overwhelming. There's so many different stuffs you have to take into consideration. So let's have a look at the terminology, like a couple of metrics. Maybe most of you know them, but the most important stuff about Apple Search Ads is the max CPT bid. So this is cost per tap. So this is the bid you set on your keywords, your ad groups, and you're telling Apple that this is the amount I'm willing to pay at most for this keyword. And then CPA is cost per acquisition. So it tells you, like, on average, how much money do you spend for these acquisitions, for these conversions. And then we have a bit of a messed up part. So conversion, installs, and downloads. So you might be thinking, what is the difference between all these three? Conversions are what Apple on the Apple Search Ads dashboard shows as downloads. So these are when someone clicks the get button and downloads the app. But installs, on the other hand, are when someone downloads the app and opens it for the first time. So tracking installs by default isn't possible on Apple Search Ads dashboard. You can do it through a attribution partner if you're using one, you can see installs generated from there. Also, you can integrate this with our dashboard to track the entire search ads funnel. Then we have tap-through rate. This is a good way to see if your creatives are working, especially if you're doing some creative set, if you're testing different creative sets. The tap-through rate is the rate on which your total impressions and your taps. So how many of those impressions are converting to taps? So if you have a poorly performing store standing, then you won't get too many taps, and that can tell you that, okay, you should improve your screenshots, maybe your app icon. It's a good metric to know. And then we have impressions and impression shares. So impressions are when someone searches for a keyword, your ad appears at the top. That's called an impression. And then impressions are mainly decided by your bid, and then also you have to be relevant to the keyword. The Apple has its own algorithm for this. It looks at your metadata, which keywords you have in your description, your app title, your keyword spot. So first you have to be relevant, and after that your bid decides on how much of the impressions you get, and the impression share is out of the, let's say out of 100 impressions, how many of them belong to your app. So you're able to see this on our dashboard. I'll show it to you later. And then when creating campaigns, we have sometimes this is like a little confusing. You have campaigns, ad groups, and keywords. These are just 3 different levels of a Apple Search Ads campaign. So the campaign is the most general part. So you select a campaign for an app, and here you usually control your total budget, your daily budget. And the ad groups are a second layer where you're like choosing if you want a CPA goal, so a cost per acquisition goal. And then this is also where you do the targeting. So you can choose like age, gender, location, but also you can change the bid on the ad group part, but we don't usually recommend that. If you have a large scale campaign, then maybe ad groups are a better place. But when you change the bids on the keyword level, you have more control. And then the keyword level is where you choose which keywords you're bidding on, and then you can also select the maximum CPT bid. One small note here is that the CPA has precedence over the CPT bid. So if you set a CPA goal, the algorithm of Apple will try to find the best possible installs, so it won't be mainly based on, it will try to provide you with more appropriate impressions, so it will have more control over than your CPT bid. Let's get to the next slide. So running successful campaigns on Apple Search Ads, it's very easy to start. You just set up an app, you determine your budget, you choose your demography, like which age group, which gender you want to focus on. Then you create a couple of ad groups based on your targets, like for brand keywords, discovery keywords, and then you set up which keywords you want to check. So I'm going to explain how to find good keywords in the coming slides. And then you start running your ads. Then you start monitoring them to see which keywords bring you a higher ROI, or which brings you like the most installs with the cheapest price. So after you started your trial, your campaigns, it's all about perfecting them through different methods. So I mentioned like the difference between Search Ads Basic and Advanced. So before we're almost about to start with the advanced part, where we have a couple of suggestions for you. But first, we get this question all the time, like people usually mix Search Ads Basic with Search Ads Advanced. So Search Ads Basic came later, like after Search Ads was initially launched. So the original campaign structure was named as Search Ads Advanced. So Search Ads Basic is you just set a campaign for an app, and then you just leave it. Like Apple takes care of everything, and you can have a maximum budget of $5,000 per month. So it doesn't allow for bigger scale campaigns. You don't choose any keywords, you don't choose any bid, you don't set up any campaigns. It's all done automatically. And you just get monthly reports like you got downloads from this keyword, you got this many downloads, we spent this much for an average acquisition. So if you're new to it, it might be desired, but there are some cons of Search Ads Basic. First of all, you're at the mercy of the Apple search algorithm, which honestly can get a little wonky at sometimes, because you can get downloads from, you can spend money on keywords that are not very relevant, some typos. So this lose of control isn't very good. But the other advantage is it's just a cost per install model rather than normal search ads. You only pay for the downloads you get, but you can only track your progress through the reports the dashboard generates. On the other hand, Search Ads Advanced has a very complex campaign structure. So you have the 3 layers, and then let's imagine you're running ads in 5 countries for an app. You have different demographics, so it can get really complicated quickly. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to have control over your campaign so you don't miss out on good keywords. You don't throw away your money. But this complexity also has its advantages, because you have complete control on everything you do on the Apple search ads. So both of these methods are currently active in 13 countries, but there's rumors that it's going to go up to like 150. We're not sure. We're excited that we hope that Apple search ads will become more popular. And as I said, for large scale campaigns, it can be difficult to manage your campaigns if you don't know what to do, if you don't have some methods that will help you out. But if you know what you're doing, it's much more efficient. You can get higher ROIs, you can get a lot more installs, and overall, the money you spend on these ads will return much, much better. And then you also have the chance to track an entire user funnel. So for this, you have to have an attribution tool, and then you have to have the searchads.com dashboard, but you can see which keyword I got my install, what did they do after they got the install, did they start a free trial, did they do an in-app purchase, did they start a subscription, did they deposit money in my app. You can track all of these to have a much, much clearer picture on how your campaigns are performing and if it's feasible for you or not. Because at the end of the day, your goal is to get downloads, but you also want to make revenue, because basically that's the purpose of any business. You want to get more revenue, and if you can track this, it's much, much easier. So let's start with some suggestions we have in terms of like search ads practices that we talk with our users, we try it ourselves, that will help you tackle with the difficulty of managing large-scale campaigns. So this is like a very generic and small example, but we call this like split campaign management. So the main idea is that usually people would create a single campaign for an app, and then they would have different ad groups, and then they would have a large pool of keywords. What we suggest is, rather than doing that on that scale, you can create campaigns for different purposes. So we have divided these into tiers. So the tier S is for the brand keywords. So these are mainly your own brand name and your closest competitors. In these campaigns, your main idea is to defend your brand from your competitors, because usually people rank at the #1 result of their brand name. But if someone is running Apple search ads on it, they just appear at the top. So you will be losing a lot of organic downloads if you don't defend your brand. So in this case, efficiency is not your main concern. Rather than you have to be aggressive, so you can be a bit more open with your budget. And then the second tier is discovery campaigns. So there's a lot of good resources out there, but we approach discovery campaigns a little bit different. We don't think, like, usually people will suggest you to do like 10%, 20% of your total budget. These campaigns, you have a high bid amount, a low budget, and then you just enable search match. So the search match automatically matches you with relevant keywords. You don't set any keywords. And then you just track your progress, see which keywords it finds. And then if you think that a keyword is a good one, you'll add them as a negative keyword. And then, you know, they'll add them as negative keywords. So you'll start running good campaigns on these keywords. The third part is the tier A keywords. We call them high return on advertisement spend keywords. So these are keywords that through funnel checking, you can see that bring you the most, like the highest return on investment. So let's say you spend $10 on it, you get $17 back. That's a 70% ROI positive keyword. So most of your good keywords you find through methods of keyword finding, which is another advanced practice what I'm going to show to you today. You can find these good keywords and then focus your attention on them. And then we have tier B keywords. So these are keywords that still have a positive ROI, but they are not as powerful as the tier A keywords, but they also have a good conversion rate at the same time. So these keywords still produce some value to your app. So you don't want to miss out on these keywords. And here on the right side, we have a reverse triangle. So this is where how you will divide your budget. So the tier S, you know, if you have the budget, you don't have to limit yourself. You don't want to be too efficient on this part. This is mainly about branding. But the second part, most of your budget, like as much as you can afford, you should use it for tier A. And then the leftover can be used for tier B. And for discovery campaigns, you can use like 10%, 15%. Some say up to 20%. What I personally suggest is don't go above 10% at most of the time, because you don't need to spend too much money on your discovery campaigns. So, you know, your budget spills over, you just pass it on to the next tier. And then, so I'm, you know, constantly talking about ROI tracking. So how do you track these ROIs? So this is done through an attribution tool. I know, like most of you, maybe some of you don't use them, but it's a very important part of Apple Search Ads. It costs a little bit of money, but the return you get from that money spent is just invaluable, because you exactly know how much money you're getting for the keywords you bid on. But there's a small problem here. Thomas Petit from 8fit actually has a very good video about this, because people reported that they were seeing a difference on their attribution tool or their MMP versus what they saw on the Apple Search Ads dashboard. So they would see the downloads on the Apple Search Ads dashboard, but the installs coming out from the attribution tool would be quite different. So he actually has like a 17-minute long video. You can check that out. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty about it, but the main idea is that this is mainly due to the differences in between downloads and installs, and the limited ad tracking option that, you know, Apple has, because people can say that, okay, don't track me, but you're actually able to see how, like, what % of your users are actually enabling limited ad tracking. So you can easily understand, okay, 30% doesn't want to share their data. You can aggregate that, and more or less up to like 100%, you can estimate how much value you're getting. And then when tracking ROIs, you should use search ads funneling. So this is what you can do on the searchads.com dashboard. So let's say you have a apps flyer, you have set up apps flyer for your app. You can integrate that with searchads.com. And then what you will see is, okay, I have spent money, I've got an impression, then someone downloaded my app, and after that they installed it, they did their first, let's say, they did their first in-app purchase. I can also see like how long have they retained in my app, and I can see their lifetime value, how much money during their lifetime they bring to me, how much money I get per a conversion, how much I have spent. So this is a very good way to understand like how well you can manage your campaigns. Like let's say you spend $5 to get a user, but if your average revenue per user is $7, for each $5 you spend, you're getting back $2. So that's a very good keyword. That's a very good campaign. So your goal from Apple Search Ads is not actually to get, you know, a good CPA. Like most people try to optimize for the CPA. Okay, I'm getting very cheap users, but how much money are you making from them? You don't know. So actually the real value of Apple Search Ads comes from this funnel tracking, where you can see exactly how much money you make. Like this is probably the best way to do Apple Search Ads. And then, you know, we have, as I mentioned, you know, discovery campaigns and some additional ways of finding keywords. So like this is usually what people will say about, you know, sorry, I just went to the wrong slide. Let's go back. Okay, so these are what people will tell you about discovery campaigns. There's a lot of resources out there about these. So these are campaigns, discovery campaigns. These are campaigns that are constantly active. You have a relatively high CPT bid compared to your like category standards. So, you know, you're actually getting the installs. You have to get the impressions to understand if a keyword is working out or not. And you usually don't want to spend more than, as I said, 10%, but some say you can go up to 20%, which I think is kind of inefficient. You don't have to spend that much money constantly on your campaigns. I think that's the biggest drawback. So you enable search match, you automatically find new keywords, the Apple algorithm finds it for you, and then if you see that, okay, I have a good CPA, I'm getting a lot of conversions, all right, great, so I will add this keyword as a negative keyword. So a negative keyword is, in this campaign, if you add it as a negative keyword, you won't be spending money on that, so you don't have to double bid on a keyword. And then, you know, why do you have to keep these active most of the time? You can reduce the budget a little bit more, but you have to keep these active because there's always new players, there's shifts in categories, so you don't want to fall behind because it's a very competitive scene. But, you know, these are like generic discovery campaigns, so let me talk about a bit of the disadvantages. Again, you're at the mercy of the Apple search algorithm, which can, I don't know, you can spend like half of your budget or 1/3 of your discovery campaign budget on totally irrelevant keywords. Maybe some say, okay, it's worth it, I'm finding new keywords, but I think that's a huge money just spent for nothing. So we have additional ways of finding these keywords, and also like discovery campaigns usually want to track the progress of a keyword for a week or 2 weeks to actually start seeing the data. And another drawback is that the data you get from these search match enabled campaigns, you can't see these on your attribution partner, on your MMP tool. So you don't know how much ROI these keywords have. You have to find them. So while finding, you spend money on them, and then you have to test them. So you spend a bit more money on them. I don't know. So you don't want to spend too much money. That's the main idea. So what we can do instead of discovery campaigns or alongside discovery campaigns, actually, you know, the best place to start finding new keywords is to just look at your organic keywords, your competitors' organic keywords. So you can see the highest search volume keywords, the highest ranking keywords. These are all good keywords to start, because if someone's ranking high for a keyword, it means they're getting a lot of downloads. So probably that keyword will have a high ROI, provided that it's not too competitive, like the bids aren't out of the way. Like let's say your average revenue per user is $7, but if you're going to bid $10 on a keyword, I don't know, it's not a good keyword, so you have to try them out as well. So for this, you know, let's have a look at the tool we have. So you can use your ASO tool. You can just manually check the app stores to find which keywords your competitors are appearing on. Or, you can also rely on some of the tools we have prepared for you to make it much easier. So this is the searchads.com dashboard. Our main goal here is to make this like a complete search ads management dashboard where you can, manage campaigns, scale them, track your ROIs, find new keywords, track your competitors, and you can also automate your campaigns. So you don't have to toy around with the bid amount all the time, because to adjust your impressions to meet your KPIs, you have to actually most of the time constantly tweak your bid. You can set up automations for these. So you can go to the organic keyword hunt. You'll be able to see which keywords a competitor is ranking for. So you can see, okay, which keywords they have in the top 1, in the top 5, the top 10. It's very similar to the ASO report on mobile action, but you can also add these keywords to your cart and then instantly start running ads on these keywords. So it's an easy way. But when you first start with a keyword, maybe you don't want to spend too much. And then the add keyword spy here, this will show you how many keywords a competitor is bidding on actively. And then you can also see how much of the impressions they get. So what is their impression say? Are they getting like 70% of the impressions? So that means that out of 100 times when someone searches for a keyword, you can see, okay, 70 times this app is getting the impressions. Okay, so they must be spending a lot of money on this keyword. That means they probably, if they know what they're doing, that's a revenue positive keyword. So maybe you can join the fray as well. Also, you can see the search ads popularity, you can see the organic rankings. So it's a good way to start finding new keywords for your Apple search campaigns. And after that, you have to start, actively monitoring them to see if they will actually play out well. Other than that, you can integrate your attribution tools to track the funnel. So you can see, let's say my app is a subscription app, and my main goal is to get people start a free trial, because I know that 50%, I'm just making up numbers, but 50% of people who start a trial actually convert to paid users. So my main priority is to start a free trial, so I can see how much money I'm spending. Like we have a cost per trial metric, so you can see how much money I'm spending to get a trial. And then if 50% of them are converting paid users, I can track, okay, this keyword group is it's basically a good campaign for me. It's producing value to me. It's increasing my revenue. It's increasing my user base. So it's always good to know this. And this actually is the end of our presentation. But we have also a question and answer part, because there's a lot of stuff actually I want to talk about, but it's not possible to go over everything. So if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So let's see. Stop sharing. So we have one question that can this deck be shared with? Of course. After the demo, the webinar, I'll send you the recording, and I'll also send you like the presentation. We also have a text version for those who think that, okay, we listened to this, it's good, but I'm gonna forget. I've actually prepared an ebook about Apple Search Ads. We have some good blog posts, so there's a lot of resources, and don't forget to check the video I mentioned of Thomas Petit. It's a very good way to understand why there's a difference between the attribution tool and the search ads dashboard like you're seeing. Also, like if anyone has a question, you can just email me. Let me just type in my email. So looks like you don't have too many questions. So if you have any questions, or if you need any help, you can reach me through this email. Also, these kinds of webinars are a good way to start networking, so you guys can share each other your LinkedIn, so you can add each other and start talking with each other, so you can develop some connections. But I guess we only have like 2 questions. So Conrad is asking, how often do you adjust bids? Is it necessary to do daily? This mainly depends on how competitive a keyword is. So if there's constantly new apps coming and going, you have to stay on top of them. And most of the time, like if you can afford, you should always be live on it. That's why I mentioned the automation rules we have. So you can, let's say you want to get at least 100 impressions per day. You can set up an automation alert for that. And then if you fail to get 100 impressions, this will check it every hour. And then if you don't have 100 impressions, it will increase your bid, let's say 10%. So you can actively do that. You can also say, okay, I don't want to spend too much on this keyword. Reduce my bid after I get, I don't know, more than 200 bids, 1,000 impressions. You can reduce your bid that way as well. And Emma is saying we can see impression share in our advanced search ads dashboard. Not exactly, actually. Apple has implemented a feature that will tell you the competitiveness of the bid on a keyword, but it's not like pointing you in directions, but saying how high the bid will be, how competitive it is. So that will kind of tell you how much you'll have to spend. But impression share you can actually see on the searchads.com dashboard, on our dashboard. You can search for an app, and if they're running ads, you'll see, okay, all of the keywords they run ads on, and then you can see how much of the impressions they got on each keyword. It's a good way to understand where you stand or which competitors are the most aggressive ones. Okay, so an anonymous attendee is asking, could you go into more detail about why an MMP is necessary for Apple search ads? For clients that don't want to step up an MMP, what are they losing data-wise? Basically, why you should, it's not a must, but it's pretty useful, because on the search ads dashboard, on the traditional dashboard, you're only able to see how much you spend for an acquisition. That is a very outdated metric. You can spend $1, you can spend $2, but that doesn't mean anything to me, because in the end of the day, you want to make money out of these ads. You just don't want to blindly burn money to get users that won't produce any value. So the MMP allows you to see how much revenue this ad is running you, because you want to run revenue positive ads. That's the main selling point of paid campaigns. Otherwise, if you just want to acquire users, you can do ASO. ASO is a cheaper and better way. So mainly, you can see your ROI. Okay, as I explained, you can see I spent $5 to get this user, but I'm making $2. I'm going to continue running ads on that. And then we have a question from Derek. Do you have a deck or one-sheeter outlining the pros of using searchads.com? Yeah, we actually have an entire product deck about it. And then we also have a blog post, like 7 points why you should use searchads.com. I can also email you this deck so you can check, okay, what are the differences and what value it will bring to your keyword. And Emma is asking a question. So does Apple cap the number of ads that it shows on a daily basis for ads? We rarely use all of our budget, and our CPT is set much higher than the average. By default, it doesn't actually. So there could be 2 reasons. First is maybe your CPT isn't as high as you imagine or you think. And the second one is maybe you're not getting too many taps on that keyword, because if you don't get too many taps, Apple will say that, okay, these guys aren't that relevant to this keyword, so I'm going to start showing them less and less. That might be the main reason why like you use your entire budget, or you're just not getting enough, taps, that you're not just spending the money. Maybe that keyword doesn't have enough search volume, for example. If it has a very low search score, search popularity, let's say 10, 15, it means like, I don't know, 100 people maybe search for it each month. So if 100 people search for it, then let's say you have a conversion of 50%, each day you're just showing it to two people. So your budget, might not get spent. So, you can focus on different keywords maybe in this case. Any other questions? While we wait for questions, what do you guys think about the webinar? Do you think it was helpful, or it was just, same thing again? What do you think about it? Did you find it helpful? Did you learn new stuff? Did it make some stuff clearer? Do you know what to do now? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So yeah, we actually like doing we actually started to like doing these webinars. So we plan to do like at least 2-3 webinars each month. So we have a couple of them already set up, so we know what we're going to talk about. But if you guys can share, like, what would you like to see in the next webinars? Would you like to see something related to ASO? Or do you want to see something about creatives? Do you want to see more insights about search ads? If you have any specific ones, you can share them with me. And we also have a question: when you suggest not to use CPA. So if you have an attribution tool, if you have an MMP, don't bother with CPA. It's just irrelevant. But if you say that, okay, I'm running small scale campaigns, I can't afford an MMP, and my main goal is to acquire users, then CPA can be used. But in overall, for search ads, I don't recommend it too much, because it also messed up your max CPT bid. It adjusts your bid based on, like, let's say, it tries to adjust the bid based on your CPA goal, so you can be underbidding on a keyword, and that will cause you to get a lot less impressions. So Margaret is asking, I would like to have more info about search ads on an upcoming. So you want to learn more about the searchads.com dashboard we have? Actually, we have time. I can show you around a bit more. Or, you can also, tomorrow, if you have time, we can also have a demo. This is applicable to everyone. I just shared my email address. Shoot me an email. Let's have a detailed dive on every single feature, because there's a lot of features we have, a lot of use cases. I'd like to share them as well. So in the meantime, let me share my screen again. I'll wait for a couple more questions. I can do like a quick tour. Let's close the Q&A. So main thing that searchads.com does, you can do everything you can do on the default Apple Search Ads platform. So this is like the campaign management part. You can manage all the metrics here, like the total budget, daily budget. Also, you can get these metrics coming from your attribution tools to track your funnel. So currently this campaign doesn't have an attribution integration, so it's showing us NA. You can see the total statistics of your campaigns. You can automate your campaigns. You can get alerts. Let's say when you spend 25% of your budget, daily budget, you can get an alert. If you pass a certain threshold of ROI, let's say you start to make a lot of money off a keyword, or you fell down below an impression threshold, your tap through rate is going down, you can get alerts about these. And also you can set up the dashboard to take actions in these cases. Secondly, you can spy on your competitors to see which keywords they bid on, see the impression share on those keywords they're bidding. You can see which other apps are bidding on them. You can search for a keyword, see which apps are bidding on that keyword, and you can check the organic ones to see, to find new keywords. You can instantly start running on them. You have advanced campaign management options, like you can do bulk campaign updates. Normally you can't change your campaigns on the campaign level in the search ads dashboard. You can duplicate campaigns to start be quicker about, you know, when you're doing geo-targeting or when you're targeting certain people. And then also for funnel tracking, you have the option to like create custom conversions that will help you see like how well are you meeting your KPIs. This is like a really quick tour because we don't have too much time, but any other questions? Okay. Margas, I'd love to also have a webinar focused on ASO for Google Play. Yeah, actually that's something we're considering. I'm not sure if I should do it the Apple App Store versus the Google Play Store, or should I do like ASO for iOS and ASO for Google Play? What do you guys think? Do you want to see it in the same webinar, or do you want to have separate webinars for these two topics? Cool, separate. All right, good. Thank you for the feedback. Perfect. All right, we'll have two separate webinars when we have time in our schedule, and then, you know, we'll do a really deep dive on them, like every single detail you need to know. Especially Google Play can get really messy at times, but you know, no worries, we'll take care of that. So any final questions before we call it a day? Okay, I guess everything was clear. You're welcome. Happy to see it was helpful. All right, so we'll also send a recording of the webinar. I'll also send the sources to you directly, so you can check if I've missed something. And then stay tuned for our next updates. You know, we have a lot of webinars. I've heard your feedback. So probably in the next couple of webinars, one of them is going to be about ASO for Google Play. So thank you all for joining, and thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful to everyone. So have a nice day or evening, depending on where you are currently. Bye-bye.